President William Ruto panics after receiving bad news from the US. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we talk politics, we analyze politics, and also we give you news updates as they break. Kindly consider subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. Oil prices have surged past $110 per barrel following a fresh escalation of tensions around the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping route, raising immediate concerns over fuel costs and also economic stability in countries like Kenya that rely heavily on imported petroleum. The latest spike in global oil prices comes after sharp escalation in rhetoric between the US and Iran, triggering fears of potential disruption to one of the world's most important energy corridors. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow but vital waterway between Iran and Oman, carries nearly a fifth of the world's total oil supply, and any instability in this region has immediate and far-reaching consequences for the global markets. Early Monday trading in Asia saw Brent crude prices climb sharply, crossing the $110 mark per barrel, and this translates to over 14,000 Kenyan shillings per barrel, a level that places significant pressure on oil importing economies. The surge follows a strongly worded warning by Donald Trump, who indicated that the US could target critical infrastructure if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. The remarks have intensified fears of prolonged disruption in global oil supply, especially as Iran signaled possible retaliation. Tehran has indicated it could target vessels attempting to pass through the strait, and also particularly in response to recent US and Israel airstrikes. This growing uncertainty has already begun to ripple through the international energy markets. Shipping routes in the Gulf region are under increasing strain. Insurance costs for oil tankers have risen sharply as underwriters factor in heightened risks, and this is in turn increases the cost of transporting oil across global markets. For countries like Kenya, the implications are immediate and serious. Kenya depends heavily on imported refined petroleum products, and any increase in global oil prices is quickly reflected in local fuel costs through the monthly pricing mechanism managed by the Energy and also Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The timing of this surge is particularly critical, and the next fuel price review by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority is scheduled for April 14, and this means the current spike in global prices could directly influence the prices consumers will pay at the pump in the coming days. Across the country, concern is already growing. Motorists are watching developments closely, aware that any sustained increase in global oil prices could translate into higher transport costs, increased cost of goods, and also broader inflationary pressure. Fuel prices in Kenya have a direct impact on the cost of living, and transport, food distribution, manufacturing, and electricity generation all rely on fuel, and a rise in fuel costs often leads to a chain reaction across the economy. The situation is further complicated by logistical challenges. Disruptions in shipping routes coupled with rising insurance premiums are likely to push up the landed cost of fuel imports. And this means that even if global prices stabilize, the cost of getting fuel into the country could remain elevated. Despite these challenges, the Kenyan government has moved to reassure the public. President William Ruto has previously emphasized his administration's commitment to stabilizing fuel prices. The government has also pledged to take action against any attempts to exploit the situation through the importation of substandard fuel. At the same time, the National Treasury has indicated it is closely monitoring global developments. The Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has also stated that the government is prepared to intervene where necessary to shield the economy from external shocks. The Ministry of Energy has also issued assurances. The Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi has confirmed that Kenya currently has adequate fuel reserves and that supply chains remain intact despite the tensions in the Gulf region. However, underlying concerns remain, and the government estimates suggest that Kenya's fuel reserves stand at approximately 16 days, and this raises questions about how long the country can cushion itself if disruptions persist or worsen. In practical terms, this means that if supply challenges continue, reserves could begin to tighten around the same time as the next pricing review. This convergence of factors creates a delicate situation. On one hand, global prices are rising. On the other, domestic reserves are limited, and in between, consumers are bracing for the potential increases in fuel costs. The broader global picture adds another layer of complexity. While there are indications that diplomatic efforts may be still ongoing, uncertainty continues to dominate the situation. Statements suggesting both possibility of an agreement and the threat of escalation have left markets reacting sharply to each new development. Energy markets are particularly sensitive to such signals. Even the possibility of disruption in the Strait of Hormuz is enough to trigger price volatility, and traders, insurers, and governments all respond quickly to perceived risks, often driving prices higher even before actual supply disruptions occur. For Kenya, this highlights a structural vulnerability. As the net importer of petroleum products, the country remains exposed to external shocks beyond its control. Global conflicts, geopolitical tensions, and supply chain disruptions all have a direct impact on the domestic economy. And this is why stability in global energy markets is critical. When prices rise sharply, the effects are felt not just at the fuel stations, but across the entire economy. Transport costs increase, food prices rise, business face high operating expenses, and the households feel the pressure on their daily budgets. In recent years, the government has implemented various measures aimed at cushioning consumers from such shocks, and these include subsidies, price controls, and regulatory oversight. However, these measures often come with fiscal implications. Sustaining subsidies or intervening heavily in the market can strain public finances, especially if high global prices persist over an extended period. This means that policymakers must carefully balance the need to protect consumers with the realities of the budget constraints. As the situation continues to evolve, attention will remain firmly on developments in the Middle East, and any sign of the de-escalation could help stabilize markets and ease price pressures, and conversely, further escalation could push price even higher, with immediate consequences for oil importing nations. For now, Kenya remains in a watchful position. Supply chains are holding, and also reserves are in place, and authorities are monitoring the situation closely. But the coming days will be critical, and the next pricing review, the status of global supply routes, and the direction of the diplomatic efforts will all play a role in determining the impact of Kenyan consumers. As tensions simmer in one of the world's most vital energy corridors, the distance between global conflict and everyday life continues to shrink, placing Kenya, like many nations, at the mercy of the forces far beyond its borders. That is all from Kenya Lens Media, and kindly if you are new here, consider subscribing, liking, and sharing our content.